Hi guys! So now we're ready to do another video. This video is going to be about perspective. So supplies that you will need today are going to be regular copy paper or a sketch pad, both will do. You will need a pencil. I am using a mechanical pencil. If you use a regular pencil, which is perfectly fine, you'll need to make sure that you keep sharpening it because you really need nice, crisp, tight lines. You will also need a ruler for today. Now, if you don't have a ruler, you need something that's very straight and rigid and hard. So like for instance, the back of a lot of books or sketch pads has a very thick, almost cardboard-like structure. That will work. Even like a hardback book will work, but you need something with sharp, tight lines if you don't have a ruler. Okay, now, perspective. There are three main types of perspective. There is 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. We're starting with 1. It's also the easiest, but it also helps us to have something to expand upon. So what we're going to practice right now is learning a couple of the basics of how to get depth to something. So doing with 1-point perspective, we need to start with is what they call a horizon line. So a horizon line can be anywhere on your paper. It can be up towards the top of your paper. It can also be in the middle of your paper. It also can be on the bottom of your paper. So it doesn't really matter, but for what we're doing right now, we're going to start in the middle. So using my ruler, I'm going to create a line about in the middle of my paper. So hold your ruler firm and take a line straight through. Now, something I didn't talk about yet, but I want to discuss again. If you've been following me in my classes, I've talked a lot about drawing lightly. You really need to do that here. And because with perspective, you have a lot of lines that you're going to draw, and most of them need to be erased. So be very cautious when you're drawing that you draw lightly. If you draw super hard, it's just harder to erase. Okay, so this first line, like I said, this is called your horizon line. Now what we need now is a point of perspective. So this is called a vanishing point. Now, just like with, I said, 1-point perspective, 2-point, and 3-point, it's actually based partly on this little guy. So if there is 2-point perspective, you'll actually have 2 vanishing points. And if you have 3-point perspective, you'll have 3 vanishing points. But we'll talk about that later. So here's my 1 point of perspective. Now to start off really easy, I'm going to have you draw boxes. Boxes all over the paper. I would like a minimum of 5. You could draw more, but you need to do a minimum of 5. Now, I'm going to draw boxes on the upper half of my paper, the bottom half of my paper, and straddling the horizon line. I'm also going to make them different sizes. Now, if you want to use your ruler to make these lines really straight, by all means, go ahead. Another great tool for perspective, and I've had a lot of my students use it, is graph paper. Not everybody has graph paper, so if you don't have it, that's okay. But what I like about graph paper is it makes everything very precise, very clean, and easier to make everything the same size. Okay, so I've done 4 boxes, so I'm not going to do, maybe not over here. I think maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I have my boxes. Now comes the point of creating the depth. So with whatever it is, because later actually I want to try lettering, there are points, or in this case, edges. Every corner, every edge, every point needs to go back to this guy. So some of them you're not going to see. So you can try with your ruler and you can tell whether or not you're going to see it. I'll talk about that in just a second. So let's start here. So this corner, I'm going to line up with my ruler, use my pencil to kind of keep it there. I've lined up with my vanishing points, and I'm going to draw a straight line back to the vanishing point. Now I'm going to do it over here. You can tell why a ruler is very useful. Now this guy over here, connect it to the vanishing point and back. Now this one I can't see. So if this is a solid box, I can't see this one because it's behind. Now if I did a box that was open, do you see now that this now comes into play, because now this is like the inside of my box. So if you do an inside of the box or an open box, that would apply. But if it was a box that was solid in the front, you wouldn't see it. So if you want to do an open box, that's okay. Then you would see that line, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to be a little bit easier for today. Okay, keep going. Line. line. Now I don't see any of these, so I'm not gonna bother. Line. I like perspective, it's just a little tedious because there's a lot of angles you need to do. This one's gonna be really tight. Ugh. Okay, so I've just drawn all of the boxes that I can see, all the angles that I can see. Now we need to actually make boxes. So if I left it as it is right now, I have these really long rectangles, which is fine, but I want to actually show you how to create boxes out of it. So when handling 1-point perspective, in order to make these boxes, I need to make lines that are either completely horizontal or completely vertical, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna start with this guy right here. I can make him however deep I want him to be. I'm gonna make him about a medium-sized box. So I'm gonna start with the top. So if I'm doing the top, I need to make this line perfectly straight. So I'm using my ruler, and I'm gonna create a line. So this is how long I've decided the box will be. Now, however long or however deep I want him to be, wherever this is, that's where I have to go down from. So that point is where I'm gonna go perfectly down. And now I've created a box. So this is my box, which means that all of this gets erased. Okay, there's number one. Now you can keep doing that with all of your other boxes. You can create them different sizes. Maybe I'll make him really small. Okay, see that one's really, really tiny. I'll make this guy very, very long. You'll see this guy gets really tight. Very skinny at the back. This guy only has one, so I'm only gonna just do the bottom. That's pretty easy. This guy too, only one. Now, I have extra lines now that I need to erase. So I need to erase in here, I need to erase in here, and then erase all of these. So task number one is I want you guys to draw several boxes. Like I said, make sure you do some of the top, some of the bottom, and some straddling because you'll see different aspects of it. And I want you to draw this for me real quick, and then we will start doing another form of 0.1 perspective.